It's also loud. You can play a fun game to spot the Gundam Seed character here. Fafner's also notable in using CGI for the aliens. Sometimes they look alien, sometimes they just look like indistinct yellow blobs, which is a little bit unfortunate. It's certainly a show that's interesting, and I feel I should like it. But your mileage may vary, I find. Now, from something that was trying to be ultra grim and serious, and robot piloting is horrible, nobody wants to do it too. Robots are really awesome. Wouldn't you want to have a robot bro that is like that hides as your car and wisecracks with you? Yes, it's the Yusha franchise. Has anybody seen Gal Gaigar? Yes, that's good. Right, we're on to a good start here. That's pretty well known. It was unfortunately the last in a franchise that I tend to prefer some of the earlier ones because I don't know, I just prefer them. The Yusha franchise was a co-production between Takara, who worked on Transformers, and Sunrise, who do a lot of anime.
Takara the toy company.
Takara, indeed, the toy company. I think they also do some really weird Toku as well, don't they?
They have done.
Yes. The Yusha franchise ran annually from 1990 to 1997 and arguably finished in 2000 with Gal Gaigar Final, the OVA sequel to Gal Gaigar. They contain absolutely everything that you want from a super robot show. Terrible puns, slapstick comedy, villains that are threatening enough to be suspenseful and probably get some kids worried about like their car might kill them or somebody's going to steal all their babies. Some of the enemy plots in the Brave series get really weird. I'll come on to that when I go through the basic rundown of the series. But here's a clip from one of my favourites, J-Mecha. Full of terrible puns if you can read katakana.
Yes, that's a guy.
Yes, the main character is a boy, and there is an episode where he has to infiltrate a girls' high school. Hilarity ensues. This show is also interesting in that it ships really hard the robots with a bunch of women. There's a bunch of older female main characters who all get shipped really hard with the main robots. Work that one out. If you've also seen floating around the internet image set, why does it have a tiger on its chest? Because it's cool.
Yeah.
That's also from J. Decker. The police chief in it is amazing. He's sort of a grown-up robot nerd that just designs impractical super robots. There's a whole episode where they turn the recap episode into him trying to come up with a good name for the mid-season upgrade. It's quite funny for a recap episode. Quite often, it's not as good as the Nadesco recap episode where they use the show within a show watching their own recap episode. But it's pretty good. So going through the Yusha timeline, the first series was Brave X-Kaiser. That is quite formulaic from my understanding of it. It's a super robot show, there are villains, they do things. It's subbed.
It's not, only 4 episodes.
It's not subbed. I thought it was. I
Only 4
apologise.
episodes.
Thank you. Yes, subbing on the Yusha series is a little bit incomplete. I think X-Kaiser was the one that Abari worked the most on. I believe he did the design for the main robot, from my understanding, and the animation for its finishing move is very much his work. Hero of the Sun Firebird is very zany. It's people call the villains in it Bulk and Skull for good reason. It's the next video I'm going to show you, so you'll get to see what I mean in a bit. But this is the series where they clone Mother Teresa and make an evil clone of her to get money off people. They kidnap babies. They make evil educational programming. They do all sorts of really stupid plans, and it's also quite notable for having the mad scientist character be easily confused with Moncha from Stardust Memory in some shots, and it's also where the "Is this a pigeon?" picture comes from. I don't know if any of you have seen that. The main character is either an alien or a cyborg or both. I forget exactly.
Alien energy being in a robot body.
Thank you. That's right. But he's incredibly stupid. And there's a picture of him pointing at a butterfly going, "Is this a pigeon?" There's also another great episode where they're kidnapping babies and he attempts to look after a baby with hilarious results. So if you like shows with a really stupid main character that has to be kept on the straight and narrow and from not killing himself or everybody else by the child protagonist, Firebird is definitely the one to watch.
That one is subbed.
And that one is subbed all the way through. A dual language as well. I think you can watch it in Spanish if you like. Portuguese. Thank you. Dagon. Dagon is an interesting one because it seems everything stole something from Dagon at some point.
Go bicked a lot.
Gal did steal a hell of a lot from it. Dagon has a lion robot that combines with the main robot that makes it bigger. It has the main robot kind of being out of commission for a good chunk of the series because it's trying to stop the bad guys blowing up the Earth.
It's holding Africa together!
That's right, it's holding the Earth together sort of Aquarion style. It's got the rival kind of alien prince with his own possibly evil robot, a King Jada analogue. And it has some pretty out there villains, or some quite entertaining villains, I'll say that. Like the big fat Shrek dude that can turn into smaller versions of himself and disguise himself as a circus ringmaster. And the female villain is quite interesting. She actually has a fairly interesting storyline from what I remember. It's definitely one of the more ambitious shows for its time. It's quite good fun, and I'm fairly certain that's the one where the main robot shares a voice actor with Max Genius.
X-Kaiser does as well.
Oh, and X-Kaiser as well. But yes, Sho Hayami is a good voice actor, and he has good fun playing a giant robot. Brave Express might gain. The subs are not good, from my understanding.
They're good for Hong Kong subs, but the names are all wrong.
Yes. It's not one I'm immensely familiar with because I've not got around to watching it yet.
It's where they troll the toy company for the entire series.
That's right. I've heard it does get a bit meta. Probably not as bad as Minky Momo, but it certainly looks very pretty. I quite like the opening of it. The mech designs all look very nice, and it's themed around trains, obviously. Manages to do train robots better than Tokka. If anybody watches Super Sentai, they'll know what Tokka is. Tokuja, thank you. It doesn't have a train boner for one. Brave Police J. Decker, you've seen the clip from it. It's cop show jokes and parodies, puns, and one cross-dressing episode everybody remembers, and lots of kind of feelsy episodes about the robots. It really plays them up as characters that you like a lot more. They're all very kind of, they all get their own little plot arcs, which is quite nice. They're not just, and they're all useful at various points in the series. It has a good mix of quite serious arcs and very, very silly episodes like the giant panda one. On the whole, it's a solid entry in the series. Goldran is half subbed, thereabouts. Unfortunately, these subgroups seem to be AWOL at the moment.
Translate to web missing.
Thank you. Yes, AWOL. The half that is subbed is very good. I really like it. It's really silly. It has a lot more of the kind of visual comedy aspects to it. It's very slapstick. It has the most amazing rivalry between the two villains. Of the main villain is completely useless, and he has a hyper-competent yandere stalker in his second-in-command that's always trying to marry him. And will always, Pinky and the Brain style, wreck his plans just as he's about to win. It's incredibly good fun. It has some great comedy episodes where the robots don't really turn up because the villain's doing something stupid, like the Kindergarten Cop parody one, where the villain infiltrates a kindergarten because he thinks that's where the plot token is. It's a very silly show. Apparently its series is up a bit towards the end, but if you just watch the first half, there's some real joys in there. There's also the game show episode where they go to Egypt and there's a sphinx that does a game show, and that's really weird.
And the main robot gets a female robot pregnant.
Oh yes, it's also the one with robot babies. Dagwon. Dagwon I mentioned when I talked about Gundam Wing. It's kind of similar. It's let's take something that's kind of guyish, in this case super robots, and make it for girls by having lots of pretty guys in it. It's a bit more Sentai-like from my understanding of it.
They've got power armors and they turn into giant robots.
Thank you.
No AI robots at all.
Right, yeah, that's a bit of a move away from the rest of the franchise. The robots don't have the personalities in their own right. I suppose Gal Gaigar does that sort of with Guy being in human form most of the time, but even that has like Galleon acting on its own. I haven't actually seen Dagwon. I do know it has an OVA that apparently has basically no robots in it.
It's got 10 seconds of a brand new shiny robot and the rest is fangirl bait.
Right, okay. There we go. King of Braves Gal Gaigar, everybody knows. It's the one that's a bit of a slow burn of kiddie action for about the first quarter, and then all of a sudden, where the hell did all this plot escalation come from? It has a fake-out ending halfway through with the real bad guys appearing. It's over the top as hell. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves singing the opening at karaoke.
They're notorious for the shouting. They released a track called Perfect. Yeah.
They did, yeah, so they just used the clips from the show for the attack
8
names.
minutes long.
I know.
Screaming all the way through.
And then there's Gal Gaigar Final, which I don't really like. It's the kind of sequel set a while after Gal Gaigar, where they introduce the franchise's most overpowered robot in Genetic Gal Gaigar. And by that point, I think the scale escalation just kind of gets a bit boring, really. It's even bigger now. It's also really edgy compared to kind of how the rest of the franchise has been. And I don't know, I don't think it works. Lots of people do like it, though. Final was technically the last televised Yusha series. There were plans to continue it with Saint of Braves Bangan. That even got to the merchandise stage. You can buy models of it. However, the series never got made.
Worst thing ever.
Things got made for it. It also turns up in, I think, one of the Brave Saga video games with its plot intact. But the closest you'll get to seeing it televised is Gear Fighter Dendo. Interestingly, that had one of the writers of Gundam Seed on it, writing a competent director.
Not the writer.
Alright, director, thank you. But he directed a fairly competent Super Robot show, and then went on to make a hash of Gundam, so...
He also did IGPX.
Cyber Formula.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Cyber Formula, it's not strictly a mecha show, but you should probably watch it if you're at all interested in F1. It's really good fun. It's sci-fi F1 racing. Very good. Now we have Firebird, so you can see